Welcome back to another Spinato Spin. Here we are. We're getting right into the summer months coming right at us. It's time to really get serious here. I'm really getting a little edgy here as far as what we're trying to do in terms of making advances, trying to become something that almost like we never dreamed of before. You got to see yourself involved in a great event. You got to see yourself as part of the biggest part of that event. And then the Spinato Spin, what we're going to talk about tonight, is real simple, and not to get the redundant point, but Napoleon Hill was the grandfather of it all, folks. Everything that you'll ever hear about motivation, everything you'll ever hear about think and grow rich, being positive, all that thought, all of those interests, all came from him. Now, I'm going to talk a little about Napoleon Hill for a couple of minutes here, and I want to zero in on just to get you the mindset of who Napoleon Hill was, the author of Think and Grow Rich, asked to do something incredible by Andrew Carnegie, the most powerful man, the most wealthiest man in the United States at the time, and basically in the world at that time, said, I want you to find out what it takes for a person to succeed. I want you to devote your life, 20 years of your life, to go out there and find out what it is to succeed. I'll give you access to all the people that have been successful. And I want you to find out what's the common denominator. What are the principles that make a person successful? Now understand this about Napoleon Hill. You got to get this through your mind so you can really appreciate it. He worked on what he did for 20 years for the richest man in the world with no compensation. All he got was pay for travel allowance and a card, or basically a letter of introduction telling him that Napoleon Hill is coming to speak to you and he wants to know what it takes to be successful. That's it. So therefore, right then and there, you have to understand this guy was nothing like the average individual. Nothing. And what he did, he said in an instinctual fashion, when Andrew Carnegie said, well, here's what I want you to do. He took him over to his house for 3 days, wined him, dined him, got him thinking about, being in the possibility of writing a book or putting together a philosophy on how to become successful. He said, I want to ask you a question, and here's your question, and I want to see how you respond to it. He said, I'd like you to go out there, and I want you to find out in 20 years' time, talk to all the most successful people in the world, and find out what they did to become successful. And then at the same time, find out what separates them from other people. And he said he reacted in an instinctual way that most people wouldn't even do it. Most people would just say, oh yeah, I'll do that. He said, I'll be excited to do that for you, and you can count on me. I'll get that job done for you, Mr. Carnegie. And that was the answer Andrew Carnegie wanted. Andrew Carnegie wanted to do something to give back to society, to give back to the people that had helped him become successful. One thing about Andrew Carnegie you got to understand, his goal in life was real simple. I want to spend the first half of my life making money, and I want to spend the second half of my life giving it away. So part of the way that he gave it away was he allowed Napoleon Hill access to all these people to learn what it takes to become successful. Know this too about Andrew Carnegie. He started with very, very little. He started with basically nothing and became who he was. Ran United States Steel, as all we know the story. When he started giving his money away, he had over $600 million, which was unheard of in 1900s. Basically owned just about everything. Understanding Napoleon Hill is real important too. His story was real simple. He wanted to become a lawyer. He came from very, very small background, very, very meager means, but he had ability to write. So he and his brother decided they wanted to become lawyers. But in order to get into law school after his college days, Georgetown University, He had to raise money. He had to do something to start getting money. So he started writing. He started writing for magazines, started writing for papers. And he said, you know what I'll do? I'll go and I'll interview some very successful people, and I'll ask them how they became successful, because I really want to understand more about how that's done. And then I'll publish the articles, and I'll make money enough so I can go back to school. Then he ran into Andrew Carnegie, and that's when the offer came. 3 days at Andrew Carnegie's house or plantation or whatever you want to call it back then. An incredible opulent situation. He meets up with him and he gets the offer and off he goes. Everyone thought he was nuts. Who ever heard of working with or for the richest man in the world for no compensation? But I'll tell you what, in that period of time, as Napoleon Hill will attest, it became the most powerful, most lucrative book in the world, and it keeps selling over and over again. By the time of his death, which happened in, I guess it was in 1960, early 70s, time of his death, he had already sold over $600 million worth of copies of that book. So that book became incredibly popular. But you know what? Here's the kicker, folks. It's not for everybody. Only 80%, I should put it this way, only 20% of the people will ever pick up that book and really read it. Only 20% of the population will read it. Let's look at that 80 right there. See, 80-20. 80% of you, 1 out of 5, only 1 out of 5, 4 out of 5, you won't even listen to this. 4 out of 5, you have no interest at all in motivation or any sort of way of improving yourself in a structured way. See, that's the nugget of Napoleon Hill. He knew that. He found that out. And he also knew one other thing, too. Not only would only 20% of the population do it and try it and see if it's for them, but only 2%. The 2% rule, that's it, 1 out of 10. Only 1 out of 10 will actually become successful with it. 1 out of 10 will change their lives and do something with it. But the possibilities are absolutely incredible. What are the real keys to him becoming something? What are the real keys to all of us becoming something? Here it is, the first one. He believed that definiteness of purpose, persistence, and a burning desire are the tonic, are the cocktail that makes a person succeed. Think about it. Thoughts mixed with definiteness of purpose, persistence, and a burning desire are incredibly powerful things. I mean, thoughts are things. A lot of people argue about that, but thoughts are things. If you back a thought up with absolute belief, you could turn it into its monetary or structural form. You could take something that is out there as an abstract idea and turn it into something. We've seen countless stories of that. Some incredible people that come from nothing to become something. All they had was two things. They knew what they wanted, and they had a burning desire to get it. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Even if you don't know how to get something, you'll figure out a way if you want it bad enough. And that's what burning desire is all about. He talks about plans. People say, well, I don't have the right plan, so I won't get started till I figure out a right plan. He said, don't worry about that. Don't worry about having the right plan. Just have the right attitude. Just have the burning desire. Just get yourself going. And you know, we can all apply this. I mean, I don't want to cross out 80% of the population that might be watching this. We can all apply it just by doing something real simple. What if you had a burning desire to lose 20 pounds? Lose 20 pounds in this next 6 months. Go to the gym every day for the next 6 months on a regular program. Eat the right foods for the next 6 months or a year, whatever it takes. What that'll do is that'll increase your confidence in yourself and get you to stretch for more. See, here's what happens, though, to a lot of people. The key word in there was persistence, right? Well, what does persistence mean? That means you keep going till the job gets done, right? Well, most people, it's sad, but most people will quit after their first turn down, after their first adversity. Once something bad happens, only once, they'll say, well, it's not for me, it doesn't really work. And that's sad. That's not the way it should be. You have to have persistence. And you know what all that comes down to? That comes down to deciding what price you're going to pay in advance before you go out and do something. You got to realize things are not going to be great. It's not going to be easy. You know the old saying, only two things are promised in the world, is an opportunity and a hard time. But the other thing too, the flip side of it is no matter what happens, they promise one other thing. If you make it to where you want to go and reach the goals that you really want, it'll be one thing. You know what that is? Worth it. That's the message. The message is worth it. Is it worth it? Look what happens with your life now. A lot of people, there's a lot of things out there that a lot of people don't realize the power of their mind. Their mind is such an incredibly powerful thing, but what they do is they neglect it. They let other things control their mind. They think they're controlling their mind, but they're really not. We were never put here just to sustain ourselves and make it through the day. That's not what life's all about. Life's all about having a dream and going for it and believing that you're going to achieve it and never stop until you get it. That's a life fulfilled. That's what it's all about. You got to realize that no matter what happens, you're going to keep going. And you're going to decide in advance that there's nothing's going to deter you from reaching your dreams. That's called definiteness of purpose. Why are you here? Why are you here? You're here because you have a goal, you have a dream, you have something you have to fulfill. How bad do you want it? I don't know how bad you want it. I just don't know how bad you want it. Only you know how bad you want it. And that's the magic. The magic is it's all up to you. It's all up to you. You're not a dog, you're not a cat. Nature hasn't decided what you're going to do. You do. The amount of divine intelligence out there has set it up so humans, the humans can do what they want to do. That is the magic. That is the secret. And you got to realize the power is in you to do something incredible. It's all right there for you. Napoleon Hill dedicated his rich time into what he wanted to do and what he wanted to make happen. He saw it. He understood it. He went around and gave lectures. He taught salespeople. He made millions of dollars doing that. Then his book came out and he even made more money. Who would have thought that? Do you ever hear of a bonsai tree? You know how a bonsai tree grows? A bonsai tree grows no visible area at all on a bonsai tree, can you tell, for 8 years. And then all of a sudden, after the 8 years is up, it grows to about 60 feet in the air. It's an incredible thing, but it's a matter of persistence. It's a matter of belief. It's a matter of faith. You got to lay your thoughts down. You got to start thinking real hard about what you want and what you're willing to fight for. Life will only give you what you're willing to accept. And we all got to get a little tougher, and we got to realize that this is our chance and we got one shot. We're only here for a flicker, so we only got one shot to make a difference in the world, make a difference in our life, and have a life fulfilled. We got a little deep this week. We'll get even more deep next week. But it's always great talking to you on the Spinato Spin. Have a great week and enjoy the great weather out there. Take care, everybody.